Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all our panelists and delegates who are joining us from all over the world, and welcome to today's panel discussion. My name is Zara Kassim. I'm the CEO of the Corporate Secretaries International Association Limited, CSIA, and I'll also be serving as the moderator for today's panel. CSIA is an international federation of 12 member bodies, representing more than 100,000 corporate secretaries and governance professionals across 3 continents. As a global voice of corporate secretaries and governance professionals, one of the objectives of CSIA is to share knowledge. And to do that, we create platforms, such as these webinars, to equip our members with the skills to navigate what is often a volatile and dynamic global economy. We're also privileged to be able to draw on the expertise and experience of the CSIA member community. So we are very pleased to be partnering with one of our founder members today, the Malaysian Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrations, MAICSA, and they will be hosting our webinar today. So our topic for today is one of the most urgent and complex topics facing corporate leadership today. We named it Boards and Bots, Governing in the Age of AI. So as generative AI, predictive algorithms, and automation technologies become embedded across organizations, the role of the board, and by extension, the corporate secretary and the governance teams, is changing very rapidly. So what we look at today is exploring how companies can govern AI responsibly while still complying with emerging regulations, which is going to be happening on a regular basis, and align AI use with their long-term strategies and stakeholder expectations. I'm very pleased today to be joined by a distinguished panel of experts who bring legal, strategic, and governance perspectives to this conversation. Before I introduce our panelists, I'd like to welcome Dr. Akbar bin Mudini, who is currently the 29th president of MAICSA, and he'll be sharing some opening remarks with us. Dr. Akbar has been the group chairman and chief executive officer of the MINC group of companies in Malaysia since 1986, providing corporate secretarial and governance consultancy services to over 1,000 companies. With over 38 years of professional experience, he has been engaged in various aspects of corporate secretarial assignments, including consultancy, restructuring, and due diligence for both multinational and local corporations. His clients include private and public companies. Dr. Akbar actively participates in speaking engagements at forums in corporate legislation and acts as a mediator in corporate disputes. He's a member of the Malaysian Institute of Management and also serves on the disciplinary committee of the Bar Council of Malaysia. Welcome, Dato.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Zara. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Zara Kassim, CEO of CSIA, distinguished panelists, esteemed participants from around the globe, a very good morning, good afternoon, probably good evening, depending on where in the globe you're joining us from. So on behalf of the Corporate Secretaries International Association, CSIA, and the Malaysian Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, MAICSA, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome you to this highly relevant and thought-provoking webinar, Bots and Bots, Governing in the Age of AI. Well, we stand at the crossroads of technological advancements and governance responsibility. Artificial intelligence is no longer a distant concept. It is here, it is evolving, and it is reshaping the very fabric of how we lead, manage, and make decisions. From real-time analytics to generative AI and machine learning, these tools are revolutionizing the boardroom and redefining the role of governance professionals across every sector. This rapid transformation presents us with both opportunity and obligation. And so we must ask ourselves, how do we integrate AI into our governance frameworks without compromising the core principles of ethics, accountability, and transparency? How can we balance innovation with integrity and speed with stewardship? Well, these are the questions at the heart of today's dialogue. We are privileged, indeed we are, to be joined by a distinguished panel of experts whose experience spans governance, law, digital transformation, and AI ethics. They will help us unpack the complex realities and emerging responsibilities that AI brings to the boardroom, from risk oversight and fiduciary duties to data governance and strategic foresight. So, whether your organization is already implementing AI technologies or is still assessing its relevance, this conversation will offer you practical insight, clarity of thought, and a deeper understanding of the evolving governance landscape. So, I encourage you to engage fully, ask bold questions, share your experiences, and reflect on how we, as a global community of governance leaders, can shape the future with wisdom and purpose. So, thank you once again for your presence and participation. This is more than just a webinar about technology. It's a timely conversation about governing wisely in a digital age. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dara.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akbar. I think you summarized very well the issues that we're going to be exploring today, the challenges, but also the opportunities that very often exist in the area of AI. So thank you very much for those introductory remarks. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you our panelists in no particular order. Our first panelist is Sharon Gill. With over 27 years of experience across fintech, e-commerce, and AI innovation, Sharon has led pivotal tech advancements in Malaysia, including the adoption of national e-wallets. As the founder and CEO of Sven Zen's Resources and a certified digital transformation trainer, she equips organizations with tools to thrive in the intersection of tech and sustainability. Her expertise brings invaluable insight into how boards can embrace innovation while upholding responsible governance. Welcome, Sharon.
Hi, everyone.
Our second panelist that I'm going to introduce is Hitendra Mehta. He's the managing partner at Centrum Legal and a recognized authority in corporate legal strategy, special economic zones, and limited liability practices. He's also the author of books titled Law and Practice Relating to Special Economic Zones and Limited Liability Practice, Law and Practice. With over 30 years of legal expertise, Hitendra brings deep insight into regulatory frameworks, risk and compliance, essential pillars in navigating AI's role in governance. Welcome, Hitendra.
Hello, everyone.
And our final panelist today is Hee Chi Moon. He is the founder and CEO of Wesmart International Berhad, with prior experience as a marketing coordinator at Padana Park City. He studied at the ATC School of Business. With a unique blend of business leadership and marketing insight, he brings a practical perspective on how governance must evolve alongside intelligent technologies. Welcome, Hee.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Before we jump in, let me just give you a reminder to all our attendees. Please post your questions on the Q&A tab at any time during the webinar. We will have a Q&A session after each of our sessions. So we would welcome your inputs, your questions, your comments. So please do post your questions on the Q&A tab. So our first session that we're going to jump into is on legal and regulatory implications. These implications for artificial intelligence are very significant and it's constantly evolving. The regulations are coming fast, whether it's from the EU, US federal agencies, or even industry bodies. Boards still have a fiduciary duty to oversee how AI is going to be deployed within their organizations. They still need to ensure compliance with all the applicable laws, regulations, and ethical norms, and they must understand what that means for their fiduciary duties. So I'm going to be posing some questions to Hitender for this session. And my first question, Hitender, is what legal risks or responsibilities do boards need to be aware of when it comes to deploying AI, particularly when it comes to generative AI tools?
Well, thank you, Zara, for that introduction, and thank you, Malaysian Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, for having me as a speaker on this very important and pertinent topic. Insofar as the question of legal risk is concerned, I must say that AI is going to change the face of working in the board's approach of the board and what outcomes are intended to be achieved with the use of AI, provided it is a responsible use. Now it will be for the board how they integrate their functionings with the AI, and with this there will be responsibilities on the board deploying uh, generative AI. I mean, this exposes organizations to a spectrum of legal risks. Board must be accurately aware, precisely aware of these, as the AI generated content can actually infringe on copyrights, patents, or trademarks, or even it can pose data protection threats also. Considering that AI strives on what inputs they are fed into the AI, so this would have the results accordingly. So data privacy violation would pose very significant concerns in the time to come to my mind. Uh, and in India also we are having similar concerns, and the regulators also are taking cognizance of that. And in fact, they are in the process of framing regulations also to address AI related issues. If I was to share the latest development, the Security Exchange Board of India, which regulates the securities markets in India, so they have come up with latest regulation way back in February 25. So whereby they have amended their regulations to address this issue of artificial intelligence. And in that particular regulation, they were clearly mentioned that anybody who's using AI or machine learning tools and techniques, then that person will be solely responsible for the privacy, for security, for integrity of investors and stakeholders' data, including the data maintained by it in a fiduciary capacity throughout the process involved. So they are clearly fixing the responsibility of the company which is using AI tools. And also they're saying that the person would be responsible for output arising from usage of such tools and techniques if it is relied upon or it deals with, and compliance with the applicable laws in force. So, having said that, in Indian company law also, compliance of applicable laws or responsibility of safeguarding the assets of the company, it lies with the board, right? So, board is eventually responsible for all legal implications that may arise out of use of AI. And it will be interesting to see that how AI is going to create challenges if it is not used in an ethical way, or if it is not used by in giving right input data, right? Or maybe it is used to bias certain trends, certain patterns in say stock markets, for example. So we have seen globally also there have been many lawsuits being filed for irresponsible use or for unintended use of AI. Like recently, we saw that Getty Images. So they filed a lawsuit against Stability AI for allegedly using millions of copyrighted images to train this AI without their permission. I mean, if you're using the data without consent, it would entail legal implications, legal responsibilities. And this actually highlights the need for the boards to ensure robust compliance processes. So, I mean, one has to be very careful. And likewise, one has to ensure as a board member that AI is used responsibly. The core principles of governance and testing, data security and privacy, risk controls and investor protection, and disclosures, and then testing framework, fairness and bias, and the data privacy and cybersecurity measures are in place. I mean, it will be responsibility of the boards to take care of all these safeguards in the organization if they are using AI tools. I think I'd pause here and maybe if there's anything, any additional question on this legal implication, would like to address.
Thanks, Itender. I think
Yeah.
that India has taken quite an important step there with, already writing regulations and revising the Companies Act. There's so many uncertainties around AI that, and as you mentioned, all the risks that come with it, that it's very important for those regulations to come into play. I'm not sure how many other countries have done that already, but I do know that there is an EU AI Act, and there's also some frameworks that's evolving in the US. And I think most companies, especially the multinationals, will soon have to deal with overlapping rules like that. So, how do you think government's teams can stay ahead of these developments? What kind of
Well,
supports do they need
well,
to stay ahead of developments?
yeah, I think EU AI Act, EU has taken lead in framing the law on this particular pertinent subject. And likewise, some states in USA, so they have come up with their legislations. So now it would have to be seen how they are applicable to organizations in different parts of the world. Supposing if I am an Indian organization, Indian company, and I'm dealing with some EU entity, so then I may be exposed to EUI Act, European Union's AI Act, and then I may be actually having consequences or having repercussions of misusing of AI tools. I mean, if I'm doing any kind of that practice. But then sitting in India and then doing business in India, so these laws may not have implications on me. These may be having a kind of persuasive approach. I mean, I can follow these as a good governance practice. I mean, I can introduce good systems in my organizations, taking a cue from what EUI, uh, uh, jurisprudence is providing. So I may take a cue from that and then try to implement here the good practices. Having said that, see, this will not, serve the purpose when we, say that there'll be a uniform global legal standard on AI should be there, or each country should have their own AI specific law. So which will happen, of course. Now, as we have seen that in India, the security regulator has already come up with regulations. So they have started regulating the intermediaries which they control. Likewise, the Reserve Bank of India will, which is central bank in India, so they would do a regulation on the banks in India. So they will be coming out with different sets of regulations. So the need would be to have a uniform, single law that applies to all, and there is no overlapping of different laws, right? So, so that would be the key. I mean, and time will tell how these, legislatory developments take place.
No, I agree. And I'm thinking now of the sustainability reporting issue as well, where you had all
Yeah.
of these, what they call the ABC soup, that of regulations, and eventually we did have the ISSB that is now looking at global standards. So hopefully that will actually also come to fruition. I think it's early days, but at least, a start has been made in India, which is fantastic.
One,
Sorry,
sorry to
carry on.
interrupt. You can say case I would like to highlight here, like in Facebook Meta way back in 2018-19, the Facebook, they allowed Cambridge Analytica to, harvest data from millions of users without their consent, right? And this landed them in a big lawsuit, and not only they ended up paying heavy fine, 5 billion by the Federal Trade Commission, but then the CEO and the directors, they actually have to testify before not only US Congress and EU regulators, but also, I mean, I've learned in Singapore also, for example. So for these kind of offenses which are trans jurisdictional, so I mean, they would be then exposed to different regulations in different countries. So this may become a big sustainability issues for the organizations in long run, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just from carrying on from that comment, has there been many of these examples where poor tech governance did lead to board level consequences?
Yeah, there are, umpteen number of examples where the company ended up uh, in difficult situations because of the improper use of AI. So in these cases, the boards are increasingly held liable for AI related incidents, right? Especially when adverse results from inadequate oversight or failure to comply with legal and ethical standards are established, right? So there are so many decided cases on this. I mean, if I was to cite, some of them. So let me just share couple of such cases with you. So just a sec. So in one, I mentioned about the case on sustainable AI. So now several authors like Sarah Silverman, so she sued OpenAI and Meta, alleging that their copyright works were used without the consent to train AI models, and they exposed companies to potential copyright infringement claims. So this is, one can say that, I mean, poor governance on the part of the board, which led them into these situations. And then Amazon had to, scrap an AI recruiting tool after it was found to discriminate against female applicants, and leading to reputational and potential legal consequences. Right. So there can be so many other, instances. So all these are results of, you can say, lack of oversight or improper oversight by the board on use of AI tools and equipments and their consequences. Although these may be unintended, but then these may lend companies into very precarious situation because of the end implications due to use of those AI tools.
No, absolutely. I think there's still so many loopholes
Yeah.
that companies may be falling into or actually using to their advantage, and that's where all the regulations are going to come in. So hopefully that will be soon, that we will be able to get boards to be more responsible. And I think another aspect probably is the training. And that's where we'll talk later to Sharon about, what support boards will need, what kind of skills they will need, because that's going to be quite crucial for them as well. So we'll talk a bit later on that. Um, while we're waiting for some of the questions to come in from the audience, um, just a question from me. In the event of these failures that seems to be happening and have been happening for quite a while, um, a decision that was made based on, data that wasn't accurate, data breaches. what would be the implications for board liability, and how can boards mitigate those instances? Because it clearly has happened. What happens to boards?
This is addressed to me, this question.
Yes, Atender.
Yeah, of course. See, when we say responsibility of the board, so essentially we mean that responsibility on the company, right? So board is obviously responsible for governing the company, for making the policies, for ensuring that people are trained, to deal with these kind of subjects. So now, if we as a board member we do not have AI, a person with AI knowledge, right, on the board, or as an expert in YT on the board, so then the kind of examples which I just mentioned, so these kind of lawsuits will invariably be there, not only in your home jurisdiction, but in different jurisdiction across the world, wherever your company has operations. So, I mean, these days, IP related violations or data infringements or data privacy concerns are, they're looming, and they're very alarming, I must say. And this can actually pose a serious threat on the continuity of business operations of the company. So now it is for the boards to, number one, monitor the AI regulations within the and its applicability within the organization. And this should be a collaborative and cross-functional effort, right? Board has to involve experts on these particular aspects. They may have AI steering committee, for example, right? Artificial intelligence, and this can comprise leaders from compliance, leaders from leaders from IT, leader from data science, and business units also. So collectively they should then devise a policy to deal with these kind of issues, and that's how they will be in a best position to address this challenges of generative AI in particular. And they'll be best positioned to oversee the regulatory developments and then ensure organizational compliances as well.
So from that, I think there's a whole range of people who's going to be responsible for monitoring actually what's happening within the company. Ultimately, obviously, it would be the board, but at the different levels and silos of the organization, I think there's going to have to be responsibility at those different levels as well. Okay, I see we've got a question or a comment. I'm just going to read it out. It looks like a comment. It's clear that industries in many countries are behind when it comes to implementing ethical and responsible AI. AI. If ethics begins with the board, how is it possible when the very industry may be unethical in the first place? That is the financial industry or weapons technology. Ethics and compliance was an issue long before Gen AI, and clearly boards are not really interested in it. That's quite an interesting comment. Does anyone want to make a comment around that?
I think ethics will always remain at the core when it comes to ensuring good corporate governance within the organization, whether AI is there or not. Ethics related issues and concern will always remain there to ensure good corporate governance within the organizations. So, I mean, end of the day, it all boils down to the mindset and the culture of the management, how they want to drive the company, how they want to run the organization. I mean, if the management is conscious of their responsibilities, I mean, when we are talking about the sustainability and environmental responsibilities and social responsibilities also. So I think all these issues will be taken care, I mean, by these, managements who are actually mindful of the implications of the evolving regulations and then evolving concerns of the people at large.
Yeah, I think you're right. Ethics underscores everything. And if it's not there, and if it's not actually embedded in the culture of the organization, I think that's where a lot of problems are already going to originate, whether there's AI or not. You're absolutely correct. Itena, thank you very much for your insightful comments there. I think now that we have the the legal and regulatory background covered, we're moving on to looking at what would be the strategic and governance implications of AI. Clearly, when it comes to how rapidly AI is transforming industries and looking at how competitive it now becomes for organizations, your boards and your executive teams now are facing growing pressure, not only to harness the potential of it, but also to navigate what we've already seen as a very complex legal, ethical, and also operational landscape. So it's really about how can organizations align the AI strategy with their corporate purpose, ensure that there is effective oversight and accountability, but also stay ahead of how the regulations and the legal landscape is evolving. So my next questions will be for Yi. How can corporate secretaries and governance professionals help the boards to align these AI initiatives with the company's long-term strategy and purpose?
Hi. Wait a moment. Huh?
Sure.
All right. I have a slide to show. Okay. You can see the slide?
There we go. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the
Okay.
full, it's not the slide alone.
All right.
So,
You can see the word, right?
yes, but it's not in slideshow.
Oh, okay. Can you see it? Can see
So, but I think we can see the slide if you want to go ahead, Yi.
it? Okay. Maybe I just go around. Hi. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's truly a privilege to be with all of you today. Thanks to CSIA and MAICSA for inviting me today to share some thoughts. All right. So, as someone who has spent years in the world of corporate governance and professional services, I stand here wearing a dual hat. I led this Westmart Group, a firm built on the pillars of compliance and trust, but also one that deeply invested in digital transformation. We are a regulatory technology provider, or we call it RegTech in short, focused on helping governance professionals like yourself embrace innovation without compromising the standard that define our profession. So today I'm not here to dazzle you with AI jargon or show off tech demo. I'm here to have a conversations about governance, about strategy, and most importantly, about how we can lead responsibly and intelligently in a world where the future is no longer just unpredictable, it is programmable. Let me start with a story. Last year, we worked with a client, a mid-sized retail chain, that implemented AI to manage inventory and automate reordering. It sounded like a smart move, improve efficiency and reduce waste. But one day, the system started over ordering a slow moving product just because a few customers happened to buy it consecutively. The AI wasn't wrong. It was just doing its job based on patterns, but it led to overstock, cost overruns, and eventually board scrutiny. And here's the surprising part is the board didn't even know AI had been rolled out in that area. So what is went wrong? There was no intentional governance, no clear oversight, no human judgment integrated into the loop. And that, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we are here today. As a digital solution provider, I see this often. Technology outpaces governance. Business often advances faster than governance frameworks can keep up. And yet, we expect boards and corporate secretaries to manage this risk, often without the tools or insights they need. So come back to Zara questions, right? Okay, for the AI long-term strategy and stakeholder expectations, AI is no longer something we can leave to the IT department to me, all right? It is in marketing algorithms, HR recruitment tools, compliance risk alerts, sometimes quietly, invisibly shaping business decision. But here's the hard truth is, just because something is intelligent doesn't mean it is wise. As a corporate governance professionals or company secretaries, our duty is not to manage AI operations, but to ensure that the board is asking the right strategic questions about AI's role and impact. So there are three questions we have to ask ourselves. Number one, does the company's use the AI align with its corporate purpose and long-term strategy? Number two, does it uphold the values we have committed to as a business? Number three, and does it serve all our stakeholders, not just shareholders, but also employees, regulators, and the public? This is where the corporate secretary becomes a key enabler of strategic governance in a digital age. As a COSEC, your role extends far beyond statutory compliance and minutes taking. You are the custodian of board process, the steward of governance frameworks, and the translator of complex issues like AI into matters the board can act on. Let me illustrate. One of my clients recently deployed an AI-powered tool to assist in screening board candidates and senior leadership role, using data from resumes, social media, and historical performance metrics to generate a shortlist. At first, it looked impressive. It saved time. It produced data-driven recommendations. But then something odd happened. The AI system consistently deprioritized candidates from certain backgrounds, those with non-traditional career path or from minority groups. No one had intended this. It was a result of biased training data fed into the system based on the company's own historical hiring patterns. This wasn't just a recruitment issue, it quickly became a governance crisis. Shareholders raised concern, regulators asked questions about the company's DEI. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion commitment. The media go hold on it, and suddenly the board had to respond to a reputation risk they didn't see coming because they had never reviewed or approved the AI tool in the first place. So, where was the governance breakdown? Right? It wasn't about bad intention. It was about the absence of oversight. That's where your role as a COSEC professional become critical. You are not expected to write algorithms, but you are expected to ensure that the board understand where AI being used, what risk is carried, and how those risks are being managed. You are the one who prompt questions like three things. Has the board reviewed the AI active policy? Number two, are we aware of where automated decisions are taking place? Number three, do we have proper disclosures, controls, and accountability mechanisms in place? So this is my answer.
Thank you, Yi. I think you raised quite a few issues there,
Okay.
around the role of the corporate secretary. I do believe that the issue of bias is going to be quite an interesting one to see how boards are going to be dealing with that.
Okay.
And the board itself, I like the idea of what you said, governance begins in the boardroom and not with regulators.
Yes.
That responsibility will always sit there. And the fact that your client didn't even know that the AI tool is being deployed is a very serious oversight. So that's an important point to make. Coming back to that, do you think that there is a need for a dedicated AI oversight committee at the board level, similar to maybe what we've seen with cybersecurity happening? And where should that oversight committee sit? Who would they be responsible to?
Okay, let me ask you this. Would you let your intern with no supervision manage your customer data, set your pricing, or write public statements? Of course, the answer is no. But that's exactly what's happening in some companies when AI is implemented without governance. So the question arises, do we need a dedicated AI oversight committee at the board level? My answer is absolutely yes. Just as we have seen boards evolve to include audit committees, risk committees, and more recently, cybersecurity oversight, AI deserves its own structure. Now, I'm not suggesting we create a committees for the sake of complexity. The real goal is focused accountability. An AI oversight committee ensures that 4 levels, all right, AI use cases are vetted not only for efficiency, but for fairness, legality, and reputational risk. Number two, third-party AI vendors are scrutinized. Number three, internal models are tested and explained. Number four, incident protocols are in place. What happens when AI makes a wrong call? Let me share another example. Westmart recently supported a company where their AI recruitment tool was unknowingly filtering out older job applicants based on biased training data. No one intended this, but the consequence was a legal and reputational risk. That company has now set a small, agile AI oversight team under the risk committee with involvement from HR, legal, IT, and the company secretary. The secretary acts as a neutral coordinator, bringing everything together, ensuring documentations and connecting it with board review. You see, you are the bridge between the board and the operational teams, right? And in an AI-driven world, that bridge is really critical. Over to you, Sarah.
Just a follow-up question, maybe, Yi.
Yeah.
How do you think that oversight committee should be, or who should it comprise of? How should it be? What should be the composition of an oversight committee like that? We spoke earlier with the tender about, who's responsible in the organization in the different silos and levels. So who do you think should be on this committee?
All right. So if you ask me personally, I would think that there are three so-called groups of people should come in together. Number one, the board. The board is very important because they represent the whole company decisions. Of course, number two is the IT team. The IT team actually, if let's say that is an in-house IT team who develop the software, or probably they use someone's digital solutions, they got to really understand what is the governance requirement. All right. And thirdly, of course, is the so-called the executions level, right? Those who work on the governance part. These three parties, they have to come in together, all right, to set the so-called I mentioned the one the oversight committee. Yeah, this is what I meant.
And do you feel that you mentioned that there should be an expert, or I think it was a tender said there should be an expert on AI. Would that person be on this committee or on the board, at the board level?
All right. So basically, the expert must be in the committee because they know what is the law, the rules and regulations. The IT person is the one who develop the solutions, So they actually empower, they drive the act to be, implement, in the right way. Mhm.
Right.
All right.
So currently, are there any AI governance frameworks that you're aware of that are being implemented? Because I'm assuming that there would be many of these that would be emerging over time. But in your view, are there currently AI governance frameworks?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Basically, Westmart actually, we have developed our own kind of like governance solutions. We call it as a BPO SA 360 digital space. This digital solution has been developed 2 years ago. We actually started to use it 2 years ago with our own internal team. All right. So after that, we have been using it, and then the solution is very good. It's actually empower three times the productivity and efficiency, and that is why last year we started to promote to let more corporate governance, the COSAC practitioner to use it. So this is our products.
So there are tools available that corporate secretaries can use, hopefully with
Yes.
no bias in it.
Yeah, but to be honest, our digital tools, this BPO SA 360 is only meant for the local Malaysia COSAC industry. So far, we haven't developed to other countries. Sorry to tell you.
I'm sure that will happen soon. I see we have some comments. Let me just go to the comments. With compliance, some countries are implementing comprehensive AI laws and others on non-binding guidelines. The latter seems to limit innovation, which is the case in the EU. Maybe the real solution is for big tech companies to disclose their AI governance programs for the entire development lifecycle, highlighting the risks and whether responsible AI was implemented at data wrangling, and also that guardrails were implemented. Also, to what extent is there real and useful collaboration between tech teams and the compliance ethics teams? Are AI governance groups actually being set up in organizations? I think that's a very good question in terms of the collaboration. You've just spoken here about this
Yes.
oversight committee. Do you think that there is currently that collaboration, or is it really where it will happen in the oversight committee?
Oh, all right. Are you talking about my solutions?
I think it's mainly the IT, probably the IT groups, the IT teams, and the compliance teams.
I see.
Is there collaboration in organizations currently?
I see. Okay. Basically, the IT team in our company organization, they actually only assist our so-called business, So they come up with these corporate governance solutions. At the moment, we don't do the extension of this digital solution for overseas market. It's only meant for Malaysia market only. Yeah.
Okay, I think that going forward, that's going to be crucial for organizations to ensure that there is that collaboration
Yep.
between the IT teams and the compliance teams, and obviously also the company secretary needs to be involved as well.
Yep.
In that it's quite important for them to be aware of what's happening. I think very often
Yep.
it seems like it's a technological issue and it becomes an IT issue, but actually it is a governance issue as well. Hitender, you have a comment.
Yep. Correct.
I can maybe add to it insofar as the Indian experience is concerned of large organizations. Like in India, a top 1,000 listed companies, so they are required to have a risk management committee. Now, this AI oversight or AI steering committee, I mean, typically could be part of that risk management committee's domain. So in that risk management committee, not only people who are member of the board are there, but there can be experts also who can be invited as part of the risk management committee, and there can be internal experts also, or business leaders also, so they can be made. And in this committee, the legal requirement is that the chairman will have to be a member of the board of this committee. And these companies, the top 1,000 companies who are required to make ESG disclosures like business responsibility and sustainability reporting. So they are making these disclosures relating to AI risks and challenges.
Yeah, I
Good.
think that's a really important point. I think there's quite a bit to be learned from India, Hitender.
Yeah,
But
if
it's
you happen to just look at any of the, what we get business responsibility and sustainability report of any big organization, so there you will find the responses of the company on these parameters.
yeah, agreed. Yi, we've got a question for you from Olashola Ayudemi.
Okay.
Can you give us a clear example of how a corporate secretary has been able to utilize the governance structure which you've developed?
Oh, all right. Okay, basically, if I'm talking about my digital solutions, we actually first of all we actually developed our digital solution based on the cloud. We actually built it. We signed under AWS, Amazon Web Services. So the reason why we signed with AWS is very simple. The whole idea is we want the corporate secretary. They can just take a tablet or even a laptop. They can work anywhere, any place. All right. So the design of our solution is you can just access inside, you can see the dashboard. Okay. You can monitor your daily works, even yourself and even all your subordinates, what they are doing, annual returns, filing AFS, so on and so forth. You can see details, everything, and without coming to office. And even though all the documents signed within seconds, you can prepare the documents. It's either automated, okay, then send straight away through the email to the clients, and they can just e-sign it, and the document will store into the system. So the COSEC don't have to even come to the office all right, to work, to do the filing, so on and so forth. So this is the whole idea, the core stack. They can do it e-filing, even data resolutions, beneficial owners, documents, everything will be all into the systems.
Hope that answers the question. We have another question from the audience.
Yep.
If the AI subject matter experts and developers are third parties, then what are some of the things to consider regarding the AI Oversight Committee or AI governance?
Come again, repeat the question again.
Sure. If the AI subject matter experts, I think we've now talked about bringing in a subject matter expert. If they are third parties, meaning they're not obviously on the board, is that something that needs to be considered regarding the AI Oversight Committee?
Oh, okay.
I think,
Yeah, it should be internal better because they understand what's the company requirement and the direction and the strategy. This is my answer.
so your recommendation is that it should be internal. Sharon, did you want to come in?
Yeah, Zara. Based on the question itself, right? I have my personal thoughts a little bit on how this thing can be operate, because you can have your external third-party advisories or AI experts or even third-party developers that comes up with the systems or the development. However, I have to agree with Yi that the internal final decision of how the data being massaged and the final output has to come from internal, so that and this cannot become from only one party as well. On the internal wise, you need to have a diversified of group of internal stakeholder, so that you have diversified different angle point of view, so that the entire data output will not be so biased, on loop-sided. So there where you can prevent a lot of legal case and things like what Hitender had mentioned just now, with all this legal which is fighting in the court right now for the biasness. This can all be prevented.
No, absolutely. And I think you've also just answered the question around how do we ensure that it's not that the AI doesn't reinforce biases through flawed training data. So I think the issue of bias is quite an important one, because if you also have your internal stakeholders, they understand the business. So they understand what the risks are going to be and the complications and the challenges. But I guess that doesn't prevent them from bringing in external parties when it comes to, specific technological advice or experts on AI. Thanks for that. Let me just see if there's any other questions from the audience. I think we've covered them.
Okay.
I think here may be a last question. Is there a possibility that we could get into a situation of AI overconfidence and where boards can maybe rely too heavily on machine-generated recommendations? Maybe a bit of an unfair question. Do you want to maybe respond to that?
Come again, question again.
Sure. How do we guard against AI overconfidence, where boards defer too heavily to machine-generated recommendations?
Okay.
Can they replace the human element?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is very important for us to so-called to cross-check. We need to have the AI policies. We need to have the committee to control everything. This is very important. We cannot over rely on the AI, because at the end of the day, AI is just the machines. All right, they are not human. Human is the one, okay, to as a gatekeeper to actually to ensure the rules and regulation is right. So to me is, don't allow the AI to overtake the humans' rights and our so-called our governance. Human is the end. Okay, AI is just the tools, to assist us to practice our corporate governance. This is what I meant.
Thanks, yeah. I think that's a very important point. I don't think that when it comes to ethics, judgment, that we can rely on AI to do that. Yitendra, did you want to come in?
Yeah, on this issue, I would say that one has to use real intelligence to use the artificial intelligence, right? So, I mean, we came across a case in United States where a lawyer was using, generative AI to just find out certain cases to support his case, and he cited those cases in the lawsuit. But later, when the opposite counsel they demanded the copy of the judgments, copy of those reported judgments, and he was not able to provide that because these were created by that generative AI. So there were actually no such reported lawsuits. And in the end, not only that the lawyer lost the case, but he was also fined for misleading the court by providing wrong citations, wrong judgments.
That was indeed taking a very big risk.
Yeah.
But I guess
I mean,
that
these are the risks which come along with the AI if you don't use the RI, the real intelligence. So the AI is
uh-huh.
supposed to give you, some results like this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Use it as a tool, not to take over the human judgment and human ethics. Thank you. Thank you so much, Yi. I think we're now going into our final session, um, where we will be looking at how do we prepare our boards. It's not about just the structure of governance. It's about culture. It's about accountability, and it's also about future readiness. So, Sharon, coming to you now, what skills or knowledge should board members develop to responsibly govern AI? I think we've now heard from Itender, and there are very many loopholes and very many areas where boards can really get into a lot of trouble, find a lot of challenges. So, what kind of skills and knowledge do they need to be able to manage that?
So first of all, I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So this is the first panel session that I have to greet in 3 different time zones. Okay. Yeah. So in fact, thank you, CSIA and also myself for the invitations. So coming back to the question itself, right, Zara. So you're asking about the responsible and the governance on AI on the board members itself, right? I think we can look at a few aspects. The first thing, we can look at the understanding of AI fundamental. Because for us, I myself, we actually provide a lot of corporate trainings to PLC and MNC as well, especially on AI and data. So from our experience, we managed to see some experience that we have witnessed. Everyone know that AI is there, that we need to implement AI into the system and also into the organization. But the problem here is hardly people can differentiate what are the fundamental of AI. So then when everyone, like they are seeing their peers, they're seeing their competitors is rushing into AI, they also rushing into AI, and then end up not understanding the fundamental, which is very risky. So I think, first of all, we need to address the fundamental of AI implementation. AI is not a normal software. It is no longer a classic software model. So AI is definitely more than classic software model. So now in our current world, we are just talking about AI and AGI, let alone we have yet to go into ASI. That is even much more critical that we have to look into on the governance side. So, and the second thing that we should really look into is the risk. I think the risk awareness for all the board members, this is very, very crucial for all board members to really look into this, because as a board members, we have our fiduciary responsibilities. You have to know anything happened to the company, to the board, we are the one who actually responsible as a board members. So therefore, having this risk awareness, like understanding what are the security risk management, like what Hitender has mentioned. I think Yi has also mentioned to set up a committee, the AI risk committee that will help on governing. Of course, some organization might be having challenges that they don't have that kind of expertise within the organization. So it's good to have internal stakeholders or internal board members as a person who sit in to understand the business better than anyone else. And then you get some expertise from outside to come and sit in together to help to set the framework. That is very important. And then to design the entire framework on how the organization should run the organization with AI. And then the third thing is data literacy. We know, we always hear this being mentioned, garbage in, garbage out. So we need to understand what are the data that the organization is collecting prior to training the system itself and getting the output out and turning it live for their external stakeholders. So this is very important to stay alert. What are the data they are collecting? Whether the data they are collecting is internal, is an authorized, or is a and also to govern on the PDPA as well, which is a Personal Data Protection Act quality of data. So, and the fourth, last but not least, I think is a change management. So this mindset is very, very important that we're no longer able to sustain with the classic model of running the business. Change management and change mindset has to be there. So maybe we can also visit, the board member can also put in a bit more, I should say, younger mindset, especially younger people, younger talent, which is actually have all these tech-savvy people to join the committee together to get a little bit more input so that they can together set up the entire AI transformation roadmap. That's a little bit of my insight.
Thanks, Sharon. I think the change management is probably also a very important aspect, because when employees hear AI, they immediately think they're going to lose their jobs.
Yes.
You know, and I think we've heard now that it's not always that AI is going to replace humans. There's still other aspects that where the human being is going to be very critical to remain on. But it's also interesting that that's quite a lot of training and skills and knowledge the board needs.
Yeah.
And very often, they would think that it's enough that they know about governance, but it's not. It's no longer enough to know about that. We talked earlier about the bias in the AI systems, and this could happen in hiring. We've heard examples from years well around that, credit or customer services, and there are many implications, or legal implications, public backlash implications. How do boards then ensure that the systems are designed and deployed fairly and transparently?
I think to design their own in-house AI software system or the entire AI roadmap from the organization itself, I believe there's a process. There's a process. I think let's start with the data collections. Okay, let's start with the data collection, because AI will not happen without a data collection and data training. So the first thing is, when you collect the data, it must be a demanding, which is all this data is explainable. Okay, the first thing is that data must be explainable and traceable within the organization, because that gives you a visibility where all this data comes from. You are not scouting data from external party, but you are collecting data from your internal source. This is very important. I think the second thing is, assuming if, let's say, the system is actually built in-house, or the system is actually collaboration between the in-house and the external party, it must be auditable. There must be a committee member or a board members which is constantly auditing the system, so that this will then help prevent on, there is a terms in this AI world called hallucination. Okay, hallucination in AI always happen, because do try, if you use on ChatGPT or Perplexity or any other LM software that you're used to, you ask a challenging question, the AI will not respond to you, "I'm so sorry, I don't know." You never see that before. They will try their very best to give you an answer. But however, is the answer practical? Is that answer, have you fact-checked the answer? It's like what Hitender has mentioned just now with a court case, with a legal case. Because when there isn't anything, because they wanted to provide you the answer. Therefore, they hallucinate and created the answer. Therefore, it's important for the entire committee to have constant audit, probably a quarter or month or whichever, together to audit the system, whether or not it is up on par, it is not hallucinating, and let alone, because when AI is there, right, normally we will trust the AI because we always think that the AI is smarter than us. But however, it might be a black box, all right? So when you audit it constantly and audit the output constantly so that it can prevent all this black box effect and also the hallucination effect, that drops a lot of risk management for the board.
That's very good advice, and that's also probably where the oversight committee will come in as well. So that's important advice. Thanks, Sharon. Just coming back to the training of the boards, what is the most effective ways to educate your boards on fast-moving technology issues? They obviously are going to be constantly changing. So what is the most effective ways to educate them?
I think we can look at the training from 3 different perspectives. First of all, nevertheless, is the foundation of AI training. But come to this, we need to drill down a little bit in details. Given an example, we have seen board that thinks that, all right, we need to start implementing AI, but we need to let our executive and also our employees to start pushing them into for training. But one thing important that the board has overlooked, the training for the own board members themselves. All right. So it's for the AI to be implemented in the organization, not just the one that using it, not just the executive, not just the employee, but also the top management and also the board members. So therefore, it's good that everyone is aligned that the fundamental training to be run across all, and then you selectively select which are the department which is suitable for different AI solution. That is the first fundamental training advice. So the second thing is, on top of the fundamental you have gone through, I think scenario-based can also be implemented. Given an example, we have to look at what are the things which is happening in the market right now, in the industry right now, or all around the world right now. What are the things which is happening? What are the case study? What are the company which is currently using AI but being taken to the court? Like Hitender also mentioned a few cases, which is also brought to the court because of the use of data without consent. So this is very important because with all these things rolls in with the scenario-based learning and case study, that will help to eliminate a lot of problem with the internal organization. I think that last but not least will be the continuous education, which is we have to stay agile. We have to stay agile no matter like webinar, like this kind of webinar, conferences or AI conferences or regulation conferences. I think board members should aggressively attend. And the most important part I can come in, which is the one that we mentioned just now with the local AI regulation. So here in Malaysia, under our Ministry of Digital, we do have a National AI Office set up last year. So this National AI Office, they were to set the regulation, but we are still waiting. But it's good that we as organization, a bigger organization to scale and sustain in the business, right, to have conversation with all these governance prior to setting up the rules. So we will then know that what are the rules will be set and whether or not it's practicable in your organization or in your industry. Have good dialogues with them, have good conversation with them so that you will also understand what will be the new AI regulation that will impact your organization or you should follow so that your organization is on par with the local authority and local regulation.
And what role do you think the corporate secretary plays in this? I agree with you. This learning is going to be continuous. The training is going to be continuous. What is the role of this corporate secretary in that AI literacy program?
I think when it comes to corporate secretary come to the board side, right? A lot of time, corporate secretary has been underplayed. Corporate secretary sometimes being seen like they're just there to take notes, minutes, and things like that. But however, corporate secretary can also play a very big roles in this AI transformation by suggesting what are the impactful training that they can suggest into the board members to be constantly improved, and also the regulation updates, because someone need to keep an eye out there. So what are the new rules and regulations to be operated into the organization? I think COSAC can also come in to provide all these updates, information, and regulations.
And I guess also ensuring that it is always on the agenda,
Yes.
making sure that the training is on the agenda. Hitender, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, I think very well said, Sharon. So I'll just make one additional comment on what Sharon said on explainable inputs and traceable inputs, right? So whatever AI tools are used, I mean, this should be traceable. So if that is there, so at least you would be in a position to find out. So what is the origin and where it concluded the transaction? So the entire chain would be available through the use of blockchain technologies as well. But having said that, the risks posed by generative AI, especially in the realms of intellectual property, privacy, and cyber security, they are new and unexpected and unintended. However, the board remain ultimately responsible for that, right? So it would therefore would be for the boards to come out with clear policies on data minimization, data consent management, and compliance with the laws and regulations. So here the corporate secretaries can play a very important role, that they can help the boards in developing these policies. And to take it further, CSIA can in introducing international uniform standards on AI policies. I mean, my view is that there should be, standard international standards, and we should be followed across the board. I mean, which will then become maybe a basis for international regulation also going forward. So I would be very happy if CSIA takes it in this direction and comes out with some uniform standards on AI for the boards, of
Now that it's
course.
out there in the public,
Yeah.
feels like a challenge, Hitender.
Yes. So we are
But
there to
yeah,
support you.
certainly happy to look into that. And yes, I agree with you. The role of the corporate secretary cannot be underestimated. They're also responsible for the governance frameworks in organizations. So in order to incorporate the AI into the governance framework, the policies, that's going to be an important role for them to play going forward. So Sharon, maybe last question. What mindset shift do governance professionals need to stay relevant in an AI augmented boardroom?
I think it's very simple. For the mindset shift in order to cope with this AI revolution world, lifelong learning and never stop adapting, and also the adaptability and also the agility must be there. And let alone on one must be very curious when it comes to tech curiosity. So there isn't any expert or sifu or guru when it comes to AI world. Every day there are new techs. Every day there are new AI developments. So what we can do is never stop learning. So that will be the only element which I think to stay afloat and to stay sustainable in the business.
No, absolutely. I think boards and by extension your corporate secretaries, governance professionals, they all have quite a challenging road ahead of them. First it was sustainability, which still is ongoing. Now we're also dealing with the complex issues of AI and how that has changed our governance landscape as well. So it's very clear AI is no longer just a technology issue. It's now become a governance issue, as we've heard from all our speakers. Our boards and our governance professionals must understand it's not only about the risks and the rules, but there are also opportunities. There's innovation opportunities, embedding it into your strategy, and also, I suppose, in a competitive landscape, those are the opportunities that boards need to consider, as well as ensuring that they remain trusted to their stakeholders. So we've heard from Hitender what are some of the risks, what are the responsibilities that boards have to consider. We've also looked at the implications for board liability when there is a tech failure. He explored how organizations can align AI strategy with corporate purpose, ensure effective oversight and accountability to lead responsibly in this era of intelligent transformation. And Sharon has cautioned boards must proactively upskill. They must diversify their expertise and understand what are the ethical, legal, and societal implications of AI. By embracing these continuous learning and scenario planning, boards can position their organizations to adapt, to lead, and to thrive in an AI-driven world. So we've come to the end of our session. I'm just going to ask my panelists for some final closing remarks. Sharon, do you want to go first?
Right. This very short one. AI is here to stay. Never give in. You have to give in to AI by learning, but you never give up your common sense. That is the only advice I give to everyone. Don't lose your common sense because of AI.
Sounds like great advice. Yi, do you want to go next?
Okay, what I'm trying to say, because of digital economy growing, so the COSAC role will be going to change, going to evolve. Okay, so at the end of the day, if we still stay the same, do the same thing as an administrator behind the scene to support the clients, end of the day, we'll be penalized. So it's very important for us. The direction is to be a strategic governance advisor in the future. So this is the role for the COSAC, right? Strategic governance advisor. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Yi. Hitender?
Well, my last statement would be that AI should not be perceived as merely a risk. So one should look at it just like any other challenge that businesses, face in their, ordinary course of business. So this is just another challenge, face it. But then look at the benefits that responsible use of AI or ethical use of AI would provide to the businesses. How they can scale the things, how can they can standardize the things, how can they predict the behaviors, the patterns, trends. I mean the tremendous use of AI and the benefits which are there. So I think this should be viewed as an opportunity as well. So if that is the mindset, I think businesses will be able to use it to augment their business case.
Thank you so much, Hitender.
Thank you.
We've come to the end of a very exciting and insightful discussion. I think there's probably still a long journey ahead of us when it comes to AI. But I can see from just the insights that we got from our panelists today that, we do have the resources to make it happen. So I just want to wrap up today and take the opportunity to thank all the role players who made today possible. A very special thanks to our panelists, Sharon, Hitender, and Yi. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. A very special thank you to Justin and the team at MAICSA and Dato Akbar. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with a team as professional and efficient as you are. Thank you also to the CSIA EXCO members for their contributions and their support. And of course, a very big thank you to our audience members who joined us today. Thank you for your questions. It always adds value and perspective to our discussions. And I trust you will leave this session better equipped to guide your organizations through this very critical transformation in a responsible way. Please do know that we will be publishing the recording on our website and also on our social media, so keep an eye out for them. For more information on CSIA, you must visit our website. It's at www.csiaorg.com. It has been a pleasure to moderate this event today, and I really look forward to having you join us for our next webinar. We will continue to look at what are the relevant and thought-provoking topics in this dynamic world of corporate governance, and maybe even come up with some global standards for AI at some point in the future. On behalf of the CSIA, MAICSA, and our panelists, wish you everyone all the best until we see you next quarter. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your day.